All right, let's get into it.
Everyone's talking about this person on Fox News yesterday, but most people are missing the most important part. So, welcome to Yester Strange, the daily series where I show you the strangest news from yesterday. So, yesterday, retired Vice Admiral Robert Harward, a highly decorated Navy SEAL with decades of real combat experience, former deputy commander of CENTCOM, and even was offered the National Security Advisor job in 2017. He sat down on America's Newsroom on Fox News to talk about the US-Iran situation, sanctions, and the blockade, and the entire situation. On paper, it was just another expert segment. They have them all the time. But when you watch the clip, something is obviously off. If you look at his neck, especially where the collar sits, there is a clear, unmistakable seam and line, exactly what you would see with high-end silicone masks. The skin texture doesn't move right, and the way it catches the light, it just isn't right. Everything about it just looks off. The way when he's talking, everything, the micro movements, it does not look quite human. It's that uncanny valley kind of vibe. To me, and anyone with common sense watching this, it is crystal clear. That is not Robert Harward. That is someone wearing a Mission Impossible style silicone mask impersonating him on live national television. Of course, the usual excuses came out immediately. Well, it's just video compression. Oh, bad lighting. It's just shadows on his neck. You know, just the usual digital astroturfing and bot comments. The narrative has an owner, and it's not the 99%. But they are just that. Excuses. We've all seen enough of these clips now to know the difference. And here's why this whole situation matters a lot. Admiral Harward is not just some random talking head. He's a senior military voice who regularly comments on high-stakes national security and foreign policy. The implications are enormous if you truly think about it. And the other questions that arise are just, if not more, scary. Who is actually behind the mask? Are we talking central casting or Edgar the Bug? Where is the real Harward, and why hasn't he spoken out? Was there ever a real Harward? And why are they letting us figure this out? It's obvious they wanted us to see this. They don't make mistakes this bad. Or I don't believe they do, at least. I think everything is intentional.
I don't understand. Every time that I'm gone for a few days, major things like this happen. By the way, it's good to be back. Sorry I was away for so long. I guess it was just time to get a new computer. But yeah, this guy definitely looks like he is wearing a mask. I'm not certain if he is. It honestly could just be a shadow, but it looks like a mask to me. Let me know what you guys think.
A new crop circle has just appeared. Footage was shot by Drone Life UK. He is an absolute amazing drone photographer, videographer, right? He captures the best stuff, mate. So go over to his channel, check him out, right? This was seen and has appeared in White Sheep Downs, Wiltshire, UK. And this happened just yesterday, I'm pretty sure, right? So the symbology in this is pretty massive, regardless of what it is, if it's aliens or humans. The message behind this is pretty powerful in my opinion, and I've kind of broke down some of the symbology which could be present in this crop circle itself. Starting with the central piece, okay, so we have the central circle connected to the outer one, suggesting one source but many expressions, right? Everything's connected through the core energy of consciousness, and to me this does kind of scream consciousness related, even down to the molecular level, right? We have the curved points between these orbs on the outside here, and to me that seems to be like some sort of energy pathway, information exchange, how things kind of flow to and from the great center itself, the source. As we zoom out, this could be to do with the four directions, okay? Fire, earth, water, and wind, the air element. That could well be. Even the four directions, if you will, north, east, south, west, which is pretty prominent in shamanism, along with elemental work. 12 orbs with the one in the center, which is 13, which is a very powerful number in many ancient traditions, okay? We've got 13 moons in a lunar year, the feminine and divine feminine energy, and if you're spiritual or religious or some sorts, you know that the divine feminine is very powerful right now. Change and a very nurturing time. Jesus and the 12 disciples, if you will, you know, if you want to get a bit religious with it, okay, quite biblical, and quite prominent with the way things are going at the moment. And then in sacred geometry and mysticism, 13 often represents unity through multiplicity. One source expressing through 12 aspects, zodiac signs, dimensions, tribes, and so forth. So it's a bit of everyone and everything involved.
It's really cool to look at. I just want to know if it's man-made or not, because people are claiming it's not. And if it's not, what could it be? I like to theorize that some of these crop circles are popping up because there may be some kind of ancient technology underground and it's causing those formations. But ultimately, I have a feeling it's man-made, but this one is a really cool looking crop circle. Hey, if you haven't done so already and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I typically upload a video like this 2 times a day, Monday through Saturday, early in the morning and later in the afternoon. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
You know that whole thing that pigeons are actually watching us in their surveillance drones? So you know, what if the government wants us to think that it's all just a funny conspiracy because there really is drones inside of pigeons? You know, I watched this documentary a few years ago where they talked about how they have surveillance drones that are so small that can actually put them on top of a housefly. You know, and I think about that stupid shit time I see a housefly or a moth or any kind of bug fly by me. You know, you see those memes that you talk about a country a little bit too much and you notice that pigeon's been sitting there this whole time. You know, pigeons are real, but all of them might not be. You know, there's a lot of articles out there that Apple announced that the iPhone 17e will have a chip developed from a certain country inside of it. You know, the same country that has experience doing crazy things with electronics. But back to those pigeons. Think about how many times that you've watched bugs and birds set way too close to you for way too long. And sometimes birds have that weird look that they don't look real anyways. You know, but every day you turn around and some new surveillance company has signed a contract with the United States government. You see pictures and watch videos with big tech guys and all of their cameras are covered up. You know, the same companies that are getting those contracts. Maybe I'm just babbling along and the bird's not real conspiracy is just that. It's just a crazy conspiracy. Or, you know, the government just wants us to think that it's a crazy conspiracy. And some of those birds flying above you aren't birds.
At this point, it would not surprise me if gnats were some sort of spy camera. Those are the most annoying, invasive bugs that there is. So why wouldn't the government equip them with some kind of technology to monitor people? They're everywhere. Also, you really don't need to have animals or bugs equipped with cameras because basically everyone has a phone with them at all times. And that alone is always listening and monitoring. And I personally think it still does it even if you have it in airplane mode. But that's just me. Let me know what you guys think.
Researchers built a synthetic brain for robots that operates very much like our brains operate, and it's capable of processing a variety of different kinds of sensory information, including touch, including where limbs are in 3D space just based on sensation. Now, this is very important for a variety of reasons, including understanding how evolution of intelligence happened on Earth. Our brains are something called a physical reservoir computer. The physical properties of the system creates the logic itself. They created a computer using a system of memristors. Those are transistors that change when current passes through them. They act very similarly to our neurons, meaning once current passes through them, they are physically changed, and they can pass information back and forth. They took information from the physical world and then communicated it to the computer, and once that sensory information entered it, and that includes pressure information and sound and sight, it would then be self-perpetuating. A tiny little bit of input then allowed the computer to take their synthetic neurons and move that information. This one was really cool. They're able to record information from somebody walking, so EMG data, what the muscles are doing, and then the computer was able to make associations between physical space and what that pressure meant. That is much closer to what we would think of as peripheral nerve information, where my hand is in space, but yes, it is just data, and a synthetic brain can be trained to process that data. They also used it to compute the location of a lightning strike. Now, I do want to be really clear here because we are talking about data processing, and it is really amazing data processing. It's something that I wouldn't have thought was possible, but we aren't talking about something that has its own will yet. Though we are talking about a self-perpetuating system where the system can power itself as a result of getting sensory information, and that could be a very important step towards building cognition. We're right at the basics here. We are moving towards intelligent embodied electronics, and yes, I know tech bros like to claim AGI every 5 minutes, but I think we're moving in the right direction. A theory is that it requires embodiment to be intelligent. You have to have some skin in the game, you have to have needs that need to be met, because that's how biological organisms act. Everything that we do is for the purpose of meeting a need. We really, truly do not know what intelligence requires. We seem to have it here, but we don't know if it could arise from a different substrate or a different system. This is just the only system that we know.
I wonder what the fascination with having advanced artificial intelligence is. Like, why do you want your robots to be somewhat aware or conscious? I truly do not understand that. And some people say it's so that they're more empathetic towards humans when humans are in need. But I do not understand why there has to be a conscious behavior and not have some kind of programmed recognition system to at least abide by that law. Why does it have to have some form of sentience? If anyone has some information on that, please feel free to provide it.
They have just discovered a 2,000-year-old super yacht under the ocean. Well, it's actually a pleasure barge. Stick with me. So scientists basically discovered Atlantis the other day, which I mentioned, with a recent discovery of a full literal city under the water off the coast of Alexandria in Egypt. This is obviously groundbreaking. Full roads, buildings down there that we've never been able to see before. Artifacts and things that are coming to light. And while during this discovery, they have now discovered this pleasure barge as well. But this isn't just a boat. Ancient texts actually describe these things as floating palaces. I mean, think of the biggest super yacht you can ever imagine. Massive luxury structures literally built on the water that the elite would feast, celebrate, and entertain guests on. As I said, it's like a gigantic super yacht, but 2,000 years ago. But here is where this gets crazier. This wasn't sitting out in the ocean. This was 7 meters underwater and buried under a meter of sediment. And I know you're thinking, yeah, well, obviously. But this means for thousands of years, this structure was completely hidden beneath the surface. And if you watched my video yesterday about the discovery of the Alexandria city, which was near from here, this now has raised the question even more, how much of ancient Egypt is actually still hidden under our feet?
Now, I'm not certain where he's getting his sources from, and I've not done too much research on this specific subject, but ultimately, it would not surprise me at all if there's more hidden stuff under the sands, under the waters of Egypt, and around the world, really, for that matter. The other day, I seen a video on TikTok, and I, for some reason, cannot find it. It was this guy digging a hole in his backyard with a spoon for every like or subscriber or follower that he had on TikTok. And he started to gain a lot. And he had a hole that was like 15, almost 20 foot deep. And he was digging all kinds of stuff up down there. Now, whether it's all real or not, I'm not certain, but it did seem fairly genuine. So I'm sure if someone's digging up old plates, old pots in their backyard 20 foot underground in America, the stuff that has not been discovered underground in Egypt has to be amazing.
Here's more things I want to know. I want to know who agrees with me, and maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but maybe you shouldn't build a highly toxic chemical making company in the middle of an urban area like Orange County, like what we're seeing with the GKN Aerospace company, whose chemical tank could completely explode, melt down. Who knows what's going to happen with it? But there's 40,000 people plus affected right now, and they don't know what's going to happen. Maybe if you can't put a stop button on it, unplug it, or decommission it without causing harm to people around you, maybe you shouldn't build it, especially in an urban environment. I don't know. I'm no scientist, but I want to know what's going to happen with this situation. And I want to know who's going to pay for all these people who have to be displaced from it. I want to know what really happened in that mall in Miami, Florida at the Bayside Marketplace when the Miami PD sent all of their available units to this one mall to apparently stop a brawl of 50 teenagers, some of which were setting off fireworks that sounded like gunshots, as reports go. But then there were reports of 9 to 10 foot aliens walking through the mall. There's no real footage to substantiate this, but yet all the footage that exists of this brawl is pretty jumbly and not very coherent. But what I want to know is what was happening around Miami when all of the police were focused on just one place, and what was really happening in that mall that was not disclosed to us. I don't know, but I want to know. But what I really want to know, who on that list is going to jail first in America?
I definitely agree. You should not have a toxic chemical company in an urban area. Really, we should not have them in general. But I understand some things need to be made, and it is required to have these chemicals. But in a heavily populated area, that just doesn't sound like a good idea. And for the Miami Mall incident, I personally believe that that was a big distraction for something we have no clue went down somewhere else that wasn't at that Miami Mall. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one.
This newly released UAP file caught my attention for a very specific reason. Not so much because of what it shows in the footage, but because of the fact that it's included in this release at all. So, buried in the new DOW release that dropped yesterday, there is a file that's labeled DOW UAP PR071. And it references, the title reference in it is an F-16 shooting down a UAP over Lake Huron in February of 2023. Sound familiar? It should, because if you recall, that was during that whole strange wave of aerial object incidents that happened right after that Chinese spy balloon story. Alaska, Yukon, Lake Huron. And then things kind of went quiet. Now, here's what I find very interesting. Arrow includes this file in an official UAP-related release, but describes the footage as likely being from an infrared sensor aboard a US military platform. Likely? That wording really stood out to me, because if this is genuinely tied to the Lake Huron shootdown, this wasn't just some sort of random civilian sighting. I mean, this was a military engagement over US airspace. Things got shot down. Now, to be fair, the release also says that some of these materials in this lack a verified chain of custody. That could explain the cautious wording here, but that creates a whole different question, because if this was already resolved as something mundane, why would you include it in a UAP release at all? This is just odd. And I think it does deserve a deeper breakdown, because those 2023 shootdowns, they deserve a revisiting.
If they know that it's likely military tech, why even add it on the UFO UAP files when you know that it's more than likely some kind of military tech and not just a UFO or UAP? I don't know, something just seems off about this.
I'm convinced that every girl has dreamt of this bathroom.
No frickin' way. I recently had dreams about this bathroom. What the Nah. No way other people are dreaming this same place too. I just saw this video from Brooke Looney. Definitely check out her whole video about this as well. Now, I saw this video and I was like, because I've also been to this place a few times in my dreams recently. Basically, this dream world bathroom. It's this massive long corridor with dozens of stalls. In my experience, it was a men's room, but all the stalls are super short, like there's no privacy happening at all. And everything is painted blue, although I've also heard other people's experiences. They've been in a green bathroom. Now, some stalls have multiple toilets or urinals or even showers. The place is just old and nasty and dirty, and you just get this feeling of dread while you're in there. Whatever this place seems to be is located in a school, or at least that's what it feels like. But there's other facilities attached to the building you're in. And there's always people in there too, wondering why they're there, or they're just standing there menacingly, or following you around. So what is this place? Well, I think this might be somehow connected to a larger phenomenon called Mall World. Have you heard of it? If you haven't, it's a place that many people claim to go in their dreams. And interestingly, a lot of those people were in the GATE program. Last year, a creator named Tilton drew out a detailed map of Mall World, since she goes there almost every night in her dreams. And you can see it's just super detailed. There's so much stuff going on here. Most describe it as this 80s style mall with a food court. For some reason, there's also a school in there, and some even say there's an airport inside. And also straight, long, weird bathrooms with short stalls. And outside, there's tons of parking lots, there's an amusement park, caravans of people wandering around, there's an ocean, and this broken highway with abandoned cars that seems to connect it all together. But people have been talking about something like Mall World for a long time before any of this. It's not new. So what is this place? Is it an alternate dimension that we go to in our sleep? Is it human collective unconsciousness? With scientists recently theorizing that our dreams are doorways to other dimensions, or how we're living in alternate realities, this idea might not be so far-fetched. So I want to know, have you been to Mall World or this strange bathroom in your dreams?
I've never been to Mall World, or if I have, I do not remember it. But there are a good number of people that claim that they've been, and it does make me wonder if it is some kind of collective conscious, or where people's conscious goes when they're in like an idle mode. Let me know what you guys think of Mall World. Have you ever been? And or do you have any theories as to what it could actually be?
Wouldn't it be weird if we found out that there was actually another continent on this planet, and that continent was used for the elite group of people, not the elites that we see, but the actual elite group of people that we all serve our entire lives, that we all do all of this work for, so that they can live in like this heaven on earth paradise type place, but none of us know about it because none of us are supposed to know about it, because then we'd know that we're all serving this one group of people on this continent that we don't know about. And this is purely for entertainment purposes only. Like, this is just a thought bubble in my head. Like, I'm just thought bubbling about it. I mean, there is the continent of Mu, which was a whole thing that happened a while back, and I'm pretty sure was debunked and all that kind of stuff, you know. But I'm just saying, like, what if?
Simply put, it would not surprise me at all. In fact, that's probably what's happening. There's more than likely some unknown continent that we have no clue about where the elite of the elite people go, and basically they live out their life however they want. And it also would not surprise me if they had some kind of Hunger Game or Squid Games type of stuff going on there as well.
Bunch of pastors came together.
Oh boy.
It's weird.
Wacky.
Called by some government officials and said there needs to be a meeting. They said don't bring your cell phones.
Gosh.
They were sat in a room. Congressman came in and he said the disclosure that is about to come out with these aliens, they are going to confirm non-human intelligence, that there's an alien race that has been living here a long time, and in fact they are our creators.
Oh gosh.
They created the Bible. They created Jesus Christ.
Oh no.
You need to prepare your congregation for this disclosure.
How?
This is wild.
I think they're hinting at that this is a deception. And what was weird is either on their flight there or back, they just so happened to say, look out the window, there's 6 UFOs.
Shut the front door.
You know,
I'm not
I'm-
judging these pastors at all. I really
Yeah.
think they're potentially part of another layer of deception. It seems way too obvious. Guys, there's a deception about to happen, so get ready.
What if it's a deception-ception?
That's what I'm saying.
This is the 1-2 punch.
I personally do not believe it to be a deception inception. I think that those pastors would know better and would understand that, okay, the government's trying to pull one over on us, instead of falling or feeding into the possibilities of aliens and them being our creators. You would think that they would actually reach out to people and say, hey, there's a lot of bad stuff happening from the government. You should be aware of that, instead of there could possibly be aliens. At least that's what I think. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one.
I have a creepy video for you today, and this is coming directly from a witness who thinks he may have captured the shadow man on camera, and it's freaking him out. Every time he turns off the light to his room, he sees this shadow being appear, and it's only when he turns off the light. And there's nothing else there that can make this shadow. And does it move? Take a look at his footage, comment below, tell us what you think.
Alright, tell me I'm on f***ing crack. Every time I turn off the light, there's like a shadow there. Watch. You see that? What? Tell me I'm not on f***ing crack, dude. No. Watch. You see that?
I sort of see the silhouette of someone standing there. That would be pretty creepy. I don't know if this is a real or fake video, but either you'd have to get used to it or just keep the lights on at all times. You also may want to pray in the name of Jesus and stay away from Ouija boards.
The Pentagon just dropped never before seen UFO footage, and it's straight up breaking reality. 4 military videos, real sensors, objects that shouldn't exist. The first one is labelled spherical UAP, erratic movement. A bright glowing orb darts through the sky, changing direction on a dime. It doesn't move like any plane, drone or balloon, it almost looks alive. Now some of these objects that you'll see later in this video kinda look like plasma, and they seem to morph and move around in unpredictable patterns. The shape-shifting being. Now this is the one that everyone's losing their minds over. Military tracking a bright object, it flies around then suddenly stops dead. It starts changing shape, almost like it's morphing, then zips off at insane speeds. Now a lot of these UFOs seem to be morphing. It's almost like a higher dimensional object which can't fully render in our 3-dimensional space. Hence why we see this either shadow type entity that can't fully render itself, looking in strange and peculiar ways or moving in strange ways. And some of these ways where we see them kind of skip or jump could be some sort of, I don't know, in speculation, a lag if you will. A UFO displaying instant acceleration once again. And then here it is. Captured by an MQ-9 Reaper drone near the Jordan-Syria border in 2021. Weapons quality lock on the object, and then instantaneous acceleration. One frame it's hovering, and the next frame it's gone. No visible propulsion, no sonic boom, just gone. And finally, this one, a legit DOW plasma orb entity. Watch how it warps and distorts the air around it whilst it's morphing. And observing this object, it has a clear heartbeat like pulsing rhythm, almost like it's air breathing hypersonics with flashing light patterns or something similar. Now, these pieces of footage are exactly the kind of high quality footage UAP researchers have been demanding, and this is what we need more of. Now, these pieces of footage are not grainy 90s camcorder videos, they are fresh military releases from the Pentagon's latest UAP drop. Advanced secret human tech, non-human intelligence, or living plasma entities we don't yet understand. The universe just got a whole lot weirder.
I don't know. He says that they're not grainy or old footage, but it's still blurry modern day footage. With as much money as the military brings in, they should have some of the cleanest, highest quality video equipment known to man, especially for recording UAPs and UFOs. Not just because they may be alien technology, but it may be enemy technology. So why do we have this tech that's old, grainy, and blurry? It just doesn't make any sense. Not when we have cameras just around town, being able to see what people are texting on their phone from almost 2 miles away. That may be exaggerated a bit, but it's not really.
Now here is a crazy photo that you may have seen before. I had never found the full backstory on this one though, but now I have. A woman was on a walk this day when she came across a small humanoid creature, an absolutely tiny alien-like being. The small white extraterrestrial is seen striding across an overgrown road. The image comes from a woman named Melissa Bram, who was walking her dog in Victoria Park, St. Helens, located in the UK. The uploader states, quote, "Some viewers are calling it eerie, while others suggest it could be a trick of perspective, an animal, a branch, or a camera artifact," end quote. But I don't know how this could be any of those. And now people are enhancing the creature's appearance with AI, giving us an even better look at what the creature likely looked like. I don't know about you guys, but I think this one is kind of cute. I mean, come on, who wouldn't like to have a small alien pet like this? But looks can be deceiving. If this creature is real, I'm sure it's a lot more dangerous than it looks.
I have to admit, it does look kinda cute. Do I believe that this is a real photo? No. But it is a cute one. Also, if it is a real photo, why didn't you capture it on video? This would have been a really good one to see on video as well. Or at least multiple photos.
You know, at night when you're turning off the lights in the house and you get to that last light, and as soon as the light turns off, you start seeing things, you start hearing stuff. So you take off running as fast as you can and you lock yourself in your bedroom. That's probably happened to you thousands of times. It's happened to me. But what is it about turning off the lights at night that makes it so creepy and terrifying? Now, there was this man named Christopher. Christopher was from Columbus, Ohio. And he said this one summer, him and his family moved into this very old home. And he said one of the things about this home was he didn't like it at night, especially when it was dark. But his father was very particular about turning off the lights at night. And so because he was the last person to go to bed, he always had to go downstairs and shut off all the lights throughout the house. So he said one night he had left several lights on downstairs. So he goes down there and he starts turning off lights. He said he got to the last light, which was the living room, dining room area. And as soon as the light turned off, he began to hear some noises. He said it sounded like footsteps running around in the living room. And out of the corner of his eye, he could see the shadow of something moving. So he ran as fast as he could to his bedroom and he slammed the door shut. And he hears these footsteps coming down the hallway all the way up to his bedroom. And he thought for sure whatever this was going to come in his room. But it was quiet. There was nothing. And this happened every single night where he would have these weird experiences after he would turn off the lights. He told his parents about it. They didn't believe him. They thought he had an active imagination. But he knew that there was something going on in this home. Said another night he went downstairs and he shut off the lights. And he said as he was making his way through the dark, he ran into something. And he physically felt whatever it was that was moving around in the living room bump into his side and knock him over. And so he started to scream. His parents come downstairs. They turn the lights on. And they're like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Something ran into me, like something is down here." Once again, they yelled at him, told him to go to bed and stop making noises. And he just really didn't know what to do except run to his bedroom every night. So he said finally he got fed up and he's like, "You know what? Tonight, when I go and turn the lights off, after I turn the last light completely off, I'm going to flip it back on and see what this thing is." So he went downstairs and he went to the living room, dining room, and he turned the light off. And as soon as the light went off, he could hear the footsteps and he could see this thing moving. And as soon as he hits the light switch up, back on, he looks and sees a pair of legs running around without an upper body. And he screams and runs to his room as fast as possible. And he said eventually they moved out of that home. But he definitely thought that it might have been haunted.
There is something about turning all the lights off and going back to your bedroom or another room to call it a day, basically. I don't know if it's like a flight or fight survival instinct, but there is this uneasy feeling of something in the dark that makes you want to hurry your way back to your room. At least for me, I understand it.
Your smart TV is probably spying on you by taking screenshots once per second and uploading those images back to the manufacturer for marketing analysis via AI tools. The smart TVs aren't taking screenshots of things that play through their built-in apps like Netflix or Hulu, but rather they will take screenshots from any HDMI device or any wireless connection to the screen like Samsung Smart View or Apple Play. That means your smart TV can see every single thing that your gaming console is doing. That also means that if your smart TV is acting as a computer monitor, then it basically has a built-in screenshotting keylogger for the computer. If you consider the fact that many smart TVs also have cameras and microphones on them that are always on, the experience actually isn't that different than being watched by Big Brother through a telescreen like in the novel 1984. As you watch the TV, it watches back. But unlike the characters in the dystopian novel 1984 who can't even turn their TVs off, today I'm going to show you how to permanently disable these features. I don't know about you, but as a person who values their privacy, I see this as a major security risk. You probably kind of already knew that smart TVs had marketing profiles and data collection systems built into their operating system, but I was absolutely shocked to learn about how many systems are also spying on your HDMI devices. All of this is turned on by default, and if you didn't watch this video, you'd have no way of knowing. I didn't even know until I found out the state of Texas actually sued Samsung and forced them to disable this feature. So, if you want to learn how to turn this off, I've got some basic tips for you here, and I've got some videos of my devices at home. So, some of the basic ones is you want to disable information gathering like personalized ads in the TV settings. If you go in through Roku, you'll find an ad identifier, personalized ads. You can turn the microphone off. That's a pretty good start. And you can turn off data collection and individual data labeling, a lot of wild things like that. But if you're looking for this screenshotting feature, what you're looking for is automatic content recognition. You'll find that in privacy, you'll find it under system, you'll find it under advertising, or sometimes you'll find it under your privacy policy, which you have to scroll down through and then find, which is very weird. And you disable automatic content recognition. It can also be labeled as viewing data, smart interactivity, or something like Live Plus, which is kind of goofy, but you want to find those and disable them. If you want to go extra steps and you don't really use these features, I would highly encourage disabling your microphone and/or camera. You can do that through the TV settings, though they're not always super honest about how disabled they are. So if you're worried about your privacy, the best way to skip this is to put a little piece of tape over the camera, or maybe like a little glue in the microphone or something, but then they're pretty much ruined, right? Some websites have recommended using a guest or store mode for the TV and then putting it on its own Wi-Fi network, but that disables quite a few features and it's a little bit of extra work for your home Wi-Fi. Some people on Reddit have recommended DNS blocking via Pi-hole or Pi-server. There's a bunch of little Raspberry Pi devices that you can install in an intermediary when your TV and its Ethernet or Wi-Fi connection to the wall that will basically block advertisers from connecting. But if you don't want to bother with a Raspberry Pi device and go through all that coding and setup and stuff, you can alternatively on some smart TVs access the DNS settings and change them to something else that you want, or you can change the DNS settings for the TV at the router or at the home level so that they'll basically bypass most of the advertisers. However, my experience with this has been that changing the routing and DNS settings of your TV often causes a loss of functionality. You lose the smart part of the smart TV, and unfortunately, the smartest way to prevent a smart TV from spying on you is to just fully 100% and totally disconnect the TV from the internet and only run content through the TV via HDMI from a device that you trust. If you trust Roku and you have a Roku box, that's great. If you have your own home server or something and you want to run it through that, or a PC, or just whatever it is that you want to set up that you fully control, and you're basically turning your smart TV into a dumb TV by taking it off of the internet, that is the only way to 100% guarantee that these features are turned off.
I personally do not use a smart TV. I do have one, but it's not connected to the internet. That's kind of what my PlayStation or Xbox is for, and or my laptop. And even still, those devices are probably monitoring and keylogging everything that you do as well. If you want to be connected to the internet, honestly, there's probably no escaping this at this point. But any information that's provided to try to keep your information from being sold is good information to me. So I do appreciate this type of content.
I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm a human being.
Same here, man. Same here. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. I also want to apologize for the lack of uploads. My computer basically got fried, so I had to take out a little bit of expense and get a new computer, and that was just a slow process on figuring out what I wanted to purchase exactly. So I have a new computer, and it's a portable one, so if I ever have to go somewhere, maybe due to an emergency, like a hurricane or something, I still will have a computer that I can create content with. And I think that's pretty cool. But I do want to apologize for the lack of uploads. I had a few people reach out to me just to make sure I was okay. I'm definitely okay. There's a post in my community tab, and I did update you guys on letting you know what the situation was exactly. But I'm back, so hopefully everything will be back to normal, and I have a lot of catching up to do with providing some videos. Also to pay off the debt that I have for this computer. So if you enjoy these videos, please give a like and subscribe. And as always, if today is your birthday, happy birthday, and if not, have a good day anyways.